being here today and being a part of this. And we want to focus on your career, how you got there, and your sexuality. And that's the purpose of this. Is it will be an archive project. It's archived at many universities, Cal State Dominguez Hills being one of them, UCLA, USC. And so you will go on forever. You will be with the June Mazer Lesbian Archives, and one of their slogans is lesbians live forever, where lesbians live forever. So I like that.
Great.
Yeah. And, so what brought you to decide to be interviewed for today?
Well, I'm an advocate for the lesbian cause and for our rights, and I've been out since I was 17 years old, and I've watched the change and participated in a lot of the marches and rallies in DC. And
where were you born?
I was born here in Columbia, South Carolina.
And you stayed in the state your whole life?
Pretty much. I lived in North Carolina briefly and in Florida, but I'm here. Home is here in South Carolina. I love it.
When did you decide that you were lesbian? When were you become aware of it?
I didn't decide. I was born that way.
We all were, right?
Who I am, and I evolved into Jan Wise, who happens to be a lesbian, who loves literature, and I'm a child advocate, and I'm hoping and trying that our rights will be maintained that we've gained.
You have siblings when you're?
I have one younger brother who's 8 years younger than I. And we're in good contact with each other, and he has two sons, and I'm their aunt. And
an important job.
Yes.
I know that. And does he live close to you?
Yes, he lives in the area here.
How about your parents? Were they natives to South Carolina, or?
My mother grew up in a mill village called Olympia Mill in the Columbia area. She was one of 13 children.
Oh my gosh.
My father was an only child and grew up outside of Columbia on a farm.
How did they meet?
They met at the Crest 5 and 10 dime store when they were working there in high school.
Right. So you say a Crest, we said a Kresge. I'm from Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Good.
And they met there and dated a few years and married, and I was their firstborn.
Good.
And I had good parents. They were
That's great.
Workers. They built up from poverty and made a something for themselves.
Was your mother, are they deceased now?
Yes, they're both deceased. My father 10 years ago of leukemia, and my mother passed away in 2019 from kidney failure.
Really? Wow.
Yes, she was on dialysis for 13 years.
It's amazing, isn't it?
She was 87, she lived to, and she was she was a fighter.
Yeah. Did she do home dialysis, or?
She did initially. She did the peritoneal home dialysis, and then when my father passed away, she chose to go on hemo dialysis, and that's when relatives, we would get her to and from dialysis. And it progressed. I decided I'd retire at 62. I
There's
moved
a lot to it. Yeah.
in. And my mother was a very strong Southern Baptist.
Was she? How'd she feel about her daughter being a lesbian?
Well,
Can you lean
she,
forward a little bit? Yeah.
yes,
Oh, that's
she,
better. I can see your face better. Yeah.
oh, okay.
Okay. That looks great right where you are. Yeah.
I'm sure my mother lifted a lot of prayers up for me,
Right.
loved me, and turned me over to the good Lord. She did what she could do. She tried.
Did she
And
talk to you about it, or you just knew she was
um,
prayers?
we talked about a very little, very little. It was like maybe if we don't talk about it, it'll go away.
Yeah.
But I was, as a child, I was termed a tomboy, and I was very active, outdoorsy, and
This
but
collection has a lot of tomboys talking in it. You may,
oh,
as you
yeah,
listen to it, you say, "Oh, another tomboy."
mhm, that was me, and I you know, I have no regrets with anything I've chosen to do since I was young, and I'm just try to enjoy life the best I can.
What led you to be involved with education?
Um, when I was growing up, it was instilled in me by both parents that I was going to college.
That's good.
And that's all they did was instill going to college. And so when I graduated from high school, I went to college.
Mhm.
I went to college in Rock Hill, South Carolina. And it was at that time, it was the last year that it was an all women's college. And so I got to see the last year of that. And then it was co-ed. But the only thing about the college aspirations, which I'm so grateful my parents encouraged me with
Mhm.
my education, was I did not have a goal of what I wanted to do when I grew up. And like I believe it was Jane Wagner, the playwright in Search for Intelligent Life of the in the Universe. She said it so well. A quote from there. The book is, I always wanted to be something when I grew up, but I guess I should have been more specific. And
So you
I
can identify with that.
I kind of wandered into my education field. And my degree was in psychology. I had a good time at Winthrop for about 8 years and majored in about 6 different subjects. And I transferred to the University of South Carolina and graduated in psychology with a minor in philosophy.
So if you look at this project that we're doing in part, it's to advise women about how to pursue a career.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really, what I hear you saying, if you're really not sure what exactly you want to do, just stay in school and just try things.
Right.
Is that accurate? Yeah. You don't have to know, I guess is.
No, you don't.
Right.
And I know one of my dreams as a child, I wanted to join the military, but I was always told I was going to college. So I put that off the table. And a little side note here, when I was a junior at Winthrop, I had moved to Charlotte and discovered there were bars and gay and lesbian people in the world like me. And I signed up for the Air Force and I was accepted to be a meteorologist. And on the day of swearing in, I got to the question at the bottom of the form that asked me if I was a homosexual or if I had any contacts with others who were homosexual.
Mhm.
And at that point, out of fear of being jailed,
Right.
I declined. I did not give my recruiter a reason. I just left the question blank and told him that I was choosing not to sign or swear in. I
What
got
year was that? Do you
it
remember?
was 1980
Mhm.
at the latest.
Boy, have you had an opportunity to look at some of our videos?
Yes,
Okay, so we interviewed Dr. Kammermeyer, they were working on discharging her. And we've
right.
interviewed other women in the collection who were in the military.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing because it hasn't really changed.
No,
That's what's amazing. It's supposed to have, but
it's
so
still.
did they ask you, did they try to follow up and say, oh, what happened to?
Mm,
No.
I cut communications. I
It's
decided
amazing you put it at the last question.
it was the last
Yeah.
question.
I've heard that before, actually.
And I mean, they had everything ready for the swearing in ceremony and
Were you in a group or were you an individual?
through,
Uh,
and I walked out.
did others walk out too? Did you notice that?
Pardon?
Did other people walk out also?
I do
You didn't
not,
notice it, yeah.
but I think I was about the only one who did
Uh,
leave.
and that wasn't really that long ago, was it?
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't. However, the military, I will say, has probably been more accepting of lesbians than our society in general.
You think so?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
from a lot of my friends who have been in the military,
Mhm,
stationed here at Fort Jackson,
mhm.
uh, they have expressed they didn't have a problem
Did
with
they have
being.
that question?
Some said yes. I asked them if
You're right, right.
my recruiter told me to ignore it and just check the left box.
I see, yeah. But
And
it's about your personal integrity.
they had to fend for themselves.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of them made good careers.
Sure.
And
It was a way to get your education paid for too, for a lot of women.
oh, I know that was one thing I knew, that I was wasting my parents' money. And I decided after I did not go in the Air Force that I would transfer to the University of South Carolina and pay for it myself. And when my grades spiraled up
Uh-huh.
to what I was capable of doing. I was an underachiever. And I had a personal interest in what my future was going to
Yeah.
be at that time.
You seem like you're pretty driven and directed. Would you say that's true?
I try. I get a scattered at times,
Yeah.
but I feel it's the journey
Mhm.
more so than my destination. And my journey's been about like Forrest Gump's, but you have to laugh
Mhm. Right.
and
It
find
helps.
humor in life.
Uh,
And after I received my degree, I did a cross country trip for 2 months.
by
Drove
yourself or with someone?
with my partner at that time. And we spent 2 months, drove from South Carolina to California, up to Oregon and back.
That's a good trip.
And then I started a master's program in theology, religious studies at the University of South Carolina.
Mhm.
I have 30 hours in religious studies, and then I changed over to counselor ed because my religious study professor, Dr. Hal French, my mentor, Dr. French told me very frankly one day after I had made some low grades in class that religious studies for me was not going to put food on the table.
Really? Whoa. Did you agree with him?
He was right.
Uh,
And
what was
but
the reason, though?
the reason was, and I'm bipolar.
Mhm.
And I was diagnosed years ago when I was in high school.
Really?
And my mental health has greatly influenced my
Wonderful.
ability to
Your career?
work, make
Yeah.
decisions, and but I'm coming out on pretty good.
Good. So that must have been a big moment to realize that you were bipolar. How'd
It
you
was,
get there?
didn't understand it at first.
Yeah.
I was, went through a lot of, I had ECT at
Mhm.
one while I was being treated.
Wow.
Um,
Well,
but
I'm sorry. Yeah.
well, it happened, but
No,
fortunately, I don't dwell on the past.
it doesn't
I
change it, does it?
present and I look forward to the future.
Uh, but I think, just do you take medication now, or how do you manage your bipolar?
Medication. I have uh, also been diagnosed with PTSD. I was assaulted in the classroom by a student
Really?
and fractured my back and
Oh my
ribs and hurt my spleen. But I'm
Wow.
on a cocktail of medication, and I have been able to stay out of the hospital
Good.
for over 12 years
Wow.
now, and I'm doing quite well
Yeah, you
considering.
seem real stable.
I am.
Right. I'm a
I am.
psychotherapist, you know that?
Oh
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. And a nurse. No, you seem, boy, how
yeah.
awful though. That's a lot to
It,
go through. But
well,
you're right, you can't change the past.
no,
We can't even change the future.
that's right. All you can do is live in the moment
Right.
and do your best.
Mhm. So that's impressive. And then how did your family handle that? Did they support you in that, or
In the mental health,
right?
they were more of the let's not talk about it. You know,
Yeah.
and I had very few visitors, very few family members knew about it.
Yeah.
And but as I've gotten older, I've been more of an advocate for mental
Right.
health.
Well,
And
that
that,
isolation doesn't help.
oh no,
I mean, people don't know what to do, but the isolation doesn't help the person that's struggling through it.
exactly.
I think so much comes out of fear. But you seem great now. So when was your first relationship of significance?
My first relationship was when I was a junior in high school,
Mhm.
and I was in love,
Mhm.
and she was in love.
Good.
Um, she happened to be my Baptist minister's daughter.
Mhm.
And after about 3 years, we split because of her religious beliefs. And she went her way of life, and I went my way.
Uh-huh.
And we've remained in touch
Have
and
you? Yeah.
And in fact, I spoke with her today, and,
Oh, did she,
and
did she stay out as a lesbian?
no, she
No.
became a missionary, but that's another
Yeah,
story y'all might be hearing at some point.
right. No, so that was difficult. You were young, huh?
It was,
The
it was
first
very
relationships are important. They're all
emotional,
important.
and it took me years to get on over it. And I've been, uh, I'm single at this point in my life right now. And, I've had a 9-year relationship,
Mhm,
and, that's about it as far as long-term
mhm.
relationship. I've pretty much been an individual on my own. And
So are you single and available? I
oh
always
yeah,
like the way people say they're single, but they don't always say they're available.
yeah, single and available.
Okay,
I'm a
well, that's good, good people,
possibility.
obviously.
I look forward to the future.
Yeah, that's good. So was the ECT treatment as part of your sexuality? Did they know about your sexual? Huh.
They may have. I'm sure I probably told one of the counselors,
Yeah,
because
that
it's
was part of the treatment for that at the time too.
right.
Yeah,
Very archaic back then.
I'll say. As
I
a
mean,
student nurse, I participated in that, not knowing what they were doing.
right. I
You know,
saw the
yeah,
video talking about that. And
right.
the first thing that came to my mind was this big something they put in my mouth,
Like a bite block. Yeah.
a buffer.
Mhm.
And that's the only
Yeah,
visual
awful. Right.
picture of it. Thank goodness.
You don't want to remember that one,
Don't.
but I'm glad you made it through it. People do make it through it. I didn't see anybody die from it. It was just frightening because I didn't know what was happening. I said, why are they doing this? Oh, well, it's good for depression. I thought,
They
Right.
I, I signed myself
I know,
thinking
but you just want to feel better. The patient just wants to feel better.
exactly.
So I can't think of all the things I've signed that I don't know what the hell I was signing. And
Hmm.
you know what I mean? You just want to, okay, I'll sign here. Okay. You know,
I have 2 good doctors now. I have a psychologist that
Mhm.
I see if I need to talk to her.
Mhm.
I'm taking better care of myself physically,
Uh-huh.
and that's a challenge.
I know. Everybody faces that one. Yeah. That's good. You look good. I love your shirt.
Thank you.
I'm a flower person. So that's it.
Yes, that's good.
So what was the most interesting thing that you've done career-wise? What would you say?
Career wise, the
Mhm.
most interesting thing I did was being the director of Zach Scott Elementary Boys and Girls Club after school program. And I worked for 9 years there at the end of my career. And I had up to 90 children a day.
Wow.
And I charged accountability and overall oversight of the whole program, and had a
Mhm.
staff. It was a divide and conquer concept with
Was it?
dealing
Yeah.
with
Big
children.
responsibility. Yeah.
Yeah,
But very important.
it I I loved it. It was
Yeah.
more what a good Southern Baptist would say, a mission rather than a job.
Right.
And that's the way I looked at it, that I was doing something good for this world by helping children who needed help the most.
So as you look at your life going forward, do you have set goals or do you have plans? How do you?
I'm I'm more of a one day at a time. I tend to hyper focus on events.
I haven't heard that word before. I gotta remember that. I could do that too. I know what it means. Hyperfocus.
Focus.
Yeah. Okay.
I did work out at the gym this morning, but after that, I came home and all I've done was focus on the interview today.
Well, that's
And
good. Yeah.
after the interview, I'll decide what I want to do next.
It's almost time for dinner there. Huh.
Yes, little while it will
Mhm.
be. But I
Do you have hobbies?
yes, I love logic puzzles.
Mhm.
I play them on Brainzilla on my phone,
Ah,
and I like logic equations, solving those. I've been an avid reader. I have always loved literature, but I'm in a stage right now where I'm not currently reading any
mhm.
book right now. And I've hired a personal trainer.
You did. Wow.
Hobby now, I'm becoming a gym rat
Are you good? Uh-huh.
and just trying to work on my balance and strengthening
That's
and
important.
maintaining my health.
Mhm. Good.
And
It's a full-time job, huh?
yes, and
Mhm.
I have plans when the situation gets better with COVID. I intend on traveling. I love to fly. I
Uh-huh.
love to go visit new places and just go on adventures. And that's probably my biggest goal is to go
Mhm.
places and see things.
Are there like lesbian travel groups?
Um, in the Columbia area, not that I know of.
I don't
Uh,
either.
know there's Olivia Cruises
Right.
and, things I could go
Mhm.
on,
Mhm.
stuff like, of that sort. We're having this weekend in Columbia, we're having our famously hot pride.
Oh,
Uh,
what is
the
that?
It's the annual gay GLPM and
What does that stand for?
gay lesbian pride movement
Oh, I
out.
see. Ours is in June, right?
And that they changed ours to October, well, to this coming weekend
Mhm.
because our heat in June is unbearable.
Is it? Yeah.
It is. So
It's
this
been like
weather
that here. Yeah.
hard.
So will you go to that?
Oh yes,
Good.
I will. I went to the first one ever
Uh-huh.
organized here in Columbia,
Uh-huh.
and that was in the early 80s.
Hasn't been that long ago that we've been coming and coming, right?
Yes,
We're out there now.
right. And one of the highlights of my life has been two occasions where I had the opportunity to go to New York City
Uh-huh.
for 25th and the 50th, more recent, uh, Stonewall March celebrations
Uh-huh.
in New York City. And that was awesome, just
Was
seeing
it?
all the support and the joy and
Mhm.
celebration. I just left me with a great feeling
Mhm.
knowing that I took part and I spoke up.
Now you're taking part in this. This is an archive collection. Are you
Yes,
aware of that? Right. It's
I
archived at many universities, and it's pretty amazing. We've interviewed over 150 women.
that's great. And I
It's
admire.
all been on referrals from people like you. And, you talk to
Mhm,
somebody. Uh,
right. I've let a couple of my friends know across the country about this.
encourage them to read the webpage. It
That-
looks the
yeah,
best, right?
Mhm.
So thank you. I appreciate that. So if you
Okay.
knew your life was going to end in a few days or a few weeks or a few months or a few years, how would you like to be remembered?
Oh, she plowed ahead. She kept going.
All
Didn't
right.
get
That's good.
life won out.
Unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
I like.
Exactly.
Do you have questions you'd like to ask me?
Well, I offhand, I'm just want to commend you and your wife for this project. It's awesome. This is
Thank you.
what we need,
Mhm.
and more of it. We've got
Pretty
to,
unique. I didn't understand that. We just started because, we were retired and COVID was so isolating. And
yes.
we said, well, okay. And it's been a year and a half now, so
Mm-hmm.
it's going on.
Well,
We had no idea. But we've gotten a lot of good support from the archivists and the
that's,
people like yourself, say, okay, I'll try it. Talk to me.
mm-hmm.
That's what it takes. And it inspires people. I originally started it because I heard of a young woman trying to kill herself in their
Mm-hmm.
coming out process. And a lot of women, as you go through the interviews, you'll hear them saying that they were there too. So I thought, how many people did kill themselves? We never met them.
I met a few. I know a few I lost along the way who killed
Yeah.
themselves. I made several attempts
Did
at
you?
suicide early on.
Was that before you were diagnosed with the bipolar?
Yes.
Yeah.
And my first suicide attempt was probably when I was 18.
Well,
I took a handful of pills and happened to wake up the next day.
that's good. I'm glad.
I'm glad too. And I'm determined to not let my mental illness
Mhm.
determine who I am or what I do. I separate my illness from me.
Mhm.
Jan wants to live.
Mhm. I think your illness wants to be just controlled.
It,
It's a part of you.
and I'm getting the help and support. I'm
Yeah.
not proud to go to the doctor
Mhm.
or take my medication. I take it religiously
It's really
because
important.
it's the way I'm supposed to.
Mhm.
And I do not want to go back to the hospital ever again and have a psychotic episode.
No, I don't see that happening to you. And I really wouldn't want it to.
I hope to, I'd like to maybe work with NAMI. The, are you familiar with NAMI? The
No, I was
National,
just going to ask you what that was. What is
it's
it?
an, National American Mental Health Organization.
Institute.
Institute. You
Right.
got
I got the eye.
And I've often thought of contacting them about the possibility of being a motivational speaker.
Right. I think
And
that's important. People
it
look
is
for somebody that's been there. You know what I mean?
right.
Yeah. Not somebody telling you something they read in a book.
Hmm.
We like to hear how other people did it.
Exactly. So
That's a good idea. Where are they based?
all over, it's a national
Is it
organization.
right?
There is a branch here in Columbia where I could contact, and it's a matter of just setting goals and priorities.
I
Right now,
know. Takes time.
I'm working on a workbook with Stephen Covey's 7 Healthy Habits.
Hmm.
Kind of late in life to do the workbook, but it perhaps will help me set some goals in
What do you
this.
think about this? Having the doctors and other educators ask people in this case, their patients, but also ask children about their anxiety. I was just, that's just becoming in my own awareness. What's your opinion on that?
I think it's good to acknowledge it. It's best to acknowledge a child's feelings,
Yeah.
whether it be anxiety or depression, sadness or happiness.
Right.
That that myself and the role I was,
That's why I was asking you, right?
to promote their well-being
Right.
and
It's a
give
big
them
responsibility,
confidence.
right? It's interesting to see where it's going to go, if it's going to continue to grow, or I don't think that they're, having been in mental health, and also I worked with my partner in her office as a nurse. We don't know what we're opening up when we say, okay, now the doctor's going to ask you, so what if you say, well, doctor, I was thinking about killing myself yesterday, but I came to see you and said, I mean, most doctors don't know how to handle that.
No, they don't.
And they don't want to. They want to give you their knowledge about their specialty that you are seeking help for.
Right.
They understand that you don't want to be sick or disabled, but I think they haven't really thought this through yet. But I am new to my thoughts, so I was interested in yours.
Yeah.
Because say you really get a really forthright person or child, and they tell you all the stuff they have never told anyone else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
It's and fortunately with my organization with the Boys and Girls Club and then work clinical counseling, I had learned the importance of listening to it. Just listen to them. Just listen. And that, I guess, was a gift I had, the ability to listen to children and give them all my focus when I could.
Right.
And
Need that.
yes.
So good. So this